What's up, guys? We're back for another episode of the Big Cat Chat podcast. Today, if you guys can tell, his is still there, but he's not there. Shawn is not here today. He's in Atlanta on vacation. So we have a fill-in. We've got Johnny from the JTE group chat, Johnny Boy Jags. He has his own merch. He's got his own merch, and I have one of the
Hey,
stickers.
what's up?
But yeah, he's here. So, how you doing, man?
I'm doing all right. Can't complain. How about you?
I'm doing pretty well. This is probably one of the later podcasts I've ever recorded. We recorded late, but
Yeah.
I'm a night owl, so it doesn't really bother me. All right, so we've got a decent episode in store. Kind of another season in review, but now the season is actually over. It's not just the Jaguar season's over. Um, so let's go get straight into it. First, the NFL awards have been released, or they were announced. Everything is out. So we'll go one by one, give our opinions on them. Patrick Mahomes, MVP. It was easy. I don't really know who else was going to get MVP besides Patrick Mahomes. It's Patrick Mahomes. He had his best year. Not his best year. He had one of his best years as soon as they got rid of Tyreek Hill. I think it was because he was forced to throw to different guys. He wasn't able to force the ball to Tyreek Hill. I think that benefited him, and he won MVP. So I think that was the right choice.
Yeah, I mean he's still got a lot of weapons in Kansas City. I mean, just having Andy Reid alone, you know.
Travis Kelce too.
Yeah, that helps.
Yeah, Travis
I
Kelce.
just
I personally believe Mahomes and Kelce are both going to go down as the greatest of in their respective positions when they both choose to retire. Because I think Kelce could go on for a long time. I know he's in his 30s already, but I think he can go on for a long time more. So I think he'll get there, and then I think Mahomes. He's so early in his career. I think he'll probably. I think it'll turn. I said this the other day. I think it'll turn out to be like MJ LeBron debates between him and Tom Brady. Everybody who grew up
yeah.
watching Tom Brady is probably going to say Tom Brady, but then a lot of the younger people who watched most of Mahomes' career are probably going to say Mahomes. So,
Yeah, it's
and then
crazy to think that Kelsey's already like 33.
yeah, I know it. It's weird. It's like he does not feel old. He feels like he's maybe 28, 29.
Yeah.
But next on the list was Offensive Player of the Year, Justin Jefferson. I will. I saw someone point this out. How do you win MVP as an offensive player but not Offensive Player of the Year? It's kind of weird how that happens. It's like if you win one award, you think logistically you'd win the other award. No, but on the standards of how Offensive Player of the Year is awarded, I'd say Justin Jefferson was probably the right decision. He had a crazy year. Don't really know who else you'd give it to.
Yeah, that was the right one on that one.
Calais Campbell won the Art Rooney Award, which I'm only mentioning that award because it's Calais Campbell. Bring the mayor back. Why not? He said he's not retiring. He said he's
Gotta
coming
love
back.
Mayor.
Bring him back to Jacksonville.
Say run it back one more year.
He said he said he wants to be in Super Bowl 58. So just saying.
This is the place to be. Duval, baby.
Let's go. But D'Amico Ryans, who just got hired as the Texans head coach, won Assistant Coach of the Year. I think that's fair. I think the Niners defense was pretty insane. So I don't have any gripes with that award.
Yeah.
Dak Prescott won Walter Payton Man of the Year award. I mean, I never particularly care who wins Walter Payton Man of the Year award because they're all good guys. It's like if you argue over who wins that award, then you're just biased. Let's be honest here.
Yeah.
He did get booed by Eagles fans as he was being awarded the award at the Super Bowl. It was so bad. He was like getting the award and it was booze after booze after booze. But it happens. Nick Bosa won Defensive Player of the Year. I think that's fine. He was it makes sense he was going to win it, but I don't really who else could have won it? I mean, it just depends on how you feel. I think Chris Jones could have had an argument just off pure impact, but
The
I'm fine with
craziest
it.
thing about that one to me is the fact that Micah Parsons did not get a single vote.
Yeah, Micah Parsons, he started the year dominant, but he had in the games they lost, he kind of disappeared. So maybe that's what happened. I don't know.
Yeah, but you still got like the whole, he
Yeah,
plays in Dallas. They're supposed to be America's team, you
true.
know?
Who knows? He probably cried about it on Twitter. I'm not sure though. That's what he
Oh,
tends
I'm
to do.
sure.
Uh, Sauce Gardner won Defensive Rookie of the Year. Not surprised. I was hoping it'd be Devin Lloyd or Trayvon Walker, but they kind of fell. Well, Trayvon Walker looked good at the end of the year, but he was never really in the contention. But Devin Lloyd fell off heavily after being in contention for like the first quarter of the season, unfortunately.
Yeah, we'll get it eventually.
For sure. Some people wanted Tariq Woolen or Aiden Hutchinson, but I think Sauce Gardner was the right pick. However, he does get away with a PI every single play, it feels like. Geno Smith won comeback player of the year, which this raised a lot of questions of is it really what did he come back from? Being trash? Like they should really make two different awards. They should make most improved and come back because he didn't come back from being hurt, like say Saquon Barkley did. He just was
Yeah.
trash for 9 years of his career and had a great year.
Yeah, I agree with that one. There should definitely be a most improved because I mean Saquon or Christian McCaffrey should have took that award home. I'm not trying to knock what Geno did this year because it was amazing and it was far beyond anything really anybody expected from him, but that wasn't the award for him.
Yeah, it's like it's not considering how they do give the award, I'm fine with the pick. But if you're going off what an actual comeback is, then it definitely should have
Yeah,
been one of those two running backs.
for
Brian
sure.
Dable won Coach of the Year. Doug Peterson was robbed. You
Boo.
you guys know I believe Doug Peterson should have won it, which it's fine that he didn't win it. I guess I feel like he should have, but what makes it bad to me and really robbery, he came in fifth in voting. He was behind. First place was Brian Dable. Second place was, let me check my notes, Sean McDermott. Third place was Sirianni, I believe. I might be getting the order slightly incorrect, but these are the guys ahead of him: Sirianni, and then Shanahan. All four of those guys were ahead of Doug Peterson. And what makes no sense to me is how are you a finalist, one of the three finalists, but get fifth?
Yeah, that didn't make any sense. Like I Dayball and Peterson was really the only one that it should have been between because they both took teams that should have never been anywhere close to the playoffs and somehow won playoff games with them.
Yeah, I have no clue. The math doesn't add up there, but NFL is going to NFL. Garrett Wilson, last award, won Offensive Rookie of the Year, which I believe he deserved it. He had a great year as receiver with a quarterback carousel. So he was my wide receiver one in the draft, and he's proven to be so.
Yep.
All right, next, let's talk about the Super Bowl itself. So the Kansas City Chiefs won the Super Bowl. Sean and I's predictions were wrong. We both predict the Eagles to win. A lot of people predicted the Eagles to win, but we are wrong. I was rooting for the
Man, you
Chiefs,
forgot
however.
it's scripted. It's all scripted. They can't let Patty lose 2 Super Bowls in a row.
Kadarius Toney reading that second half script. But
Yeah, you should have been MVP, man.
yeah, I'll get to that in a second. But the Chiefs won 38-35 on a game-winning field goal. Patrick Mahomes was the Super Bowl MVP with a 21 of 27 for 182 and 3. Solid stat line, though. However, 2 of those touchdowns were wide ass open 5-yard touchdowns.
Yeah.
So take that with a grain of salt. But you know how it is. The quarterback has to perform terribly for somebody else to win it, or somebody else has to perform insane. Because Patrick Mahomes,
Yep.
his other Super Bowl MVP, it should have gone to Damian Williams against the Niners, and they still gave it to Mahomes. So, I mean, it's a fine pick considering his stat line doesn't look that bad. I just think somebody else should have won it. I think it should have been either Kadarius Toney, because he turned the game around. He didn't do anything in the first half, but in the second half, first thing, amazing decoy. He was a decoy. They ran an out route. They were going to pump fake it to him, and then Juju turned up field and he threw a hole shot to him. They bit down on Toney, leaving him open. Then you have Kadarius Toney's touchdown. It's I'll say this, and I'll show the clip. Andy Reid took it right from Doug Peterson's playbook against the Eagles earlier, week 4. Jamal Agnew did the exact same thing. He motions in and then immediately turns on a dime, cuts back. There's communication issues in the back end, and he's left wide ass open for a touchdown. They did the exact same thing. You guys are seeing the video of the Jaguars doing it first, but they did it with Kadarius Toney. He scored the touchdown to give them the lead at in that time, I believe. It was either the lead or it was very close to it. Then they did the same thing. They flipped the side of the play and did it with Sky Moore. But the Sky Moore touchdown didn't happen until Kadarius Toney had the biggest punt return in Super Bowl history. It was like 60-something yards. He brought it down to the 5-yard line. He escaped. I'm going to pop another picture up. He escaped this. There's like 6 guys trying to tackle him, and he somehow does his classic Kadarius Toney, stick his foot in the ground, cut back, and then he had an entourage all the way to the end zone almost. Kadarius Toney turned the game around, so you could argue him MVP. It's slightly biased for me to say, hey, he'd be MVP, but he should definitely be top 3 at least. My other MVP pick, if it's not going to go to Kadarius Toney, it should have been Nick Bolton on the defensive side. Let's look at his stats. Let's go defensive. Nick Bolton had 8 tackles, which led the Chiefs defense. He had a touchdown on a fumble. I'm sure they credited him the forced fumble because what they did, it was third or fourth down for the no, it was third down. The only time they went on fourth down was when they did sneaks. But it was third down, empty set, Eagles. They love doing QB runs. So Jalen Hurts took it, but Nick Bolton had it read perfectly. There was no lane for Jalen Hurts. So Jalen Hurts tried to do something. He ended up dropping the ball. Nick Bolton also recovered that, ran it in for a touchdown. So that play was all Nick Bolton. Forced fumble. The ball was really dropped by Jalen Hurts, but it's still going to be credited as a forced fumble. So Nick Bolton, forced fumble, touchdown, led the team in tackles. He was flying around, making play after play after play. I think he kept the minute on the defensive side of the game. So those were my 2 MVP picks, but Mahomes is probably 3rd. Or Kelsey, I guess. Kelsey, Kelsey had 6 for 81 and 1. So you could argue him as over Mahomes too, but I'd probably go Mahomes 3, Kelsey 4.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Then Isaiah Pacheco played a hell of a game too. He had 15 carries for 76 yards and a touchdown, 5.1 yards per carry. I describe Isaiah Pacheco as an angry runner. It feels like he runs like he wants to run through a brick wall every time he touches the ball. So he did just that. Now, Johnny is a Gator fan just like myself. I'm actually repping the Atlanta Falcons Kyle Pitts jersey as we speak. You guys can kind of see
nice.
it. I don't feel like standing up, but the Gators were cooking. We saw Kadarius Toney, obviously. Tommy Townsend, the punter for the Chiefs. He always cooks. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson was hitting hard out there for the Eagles. He had a couple hit sticks on Pacheco. No fumbles, but he also saved a touchdown. There was one run play where the Chiefs had a beautiful run play, and there was nobody but Chauncey, and Chauncey made the hard hit tackle. So he saved a touchdown. But yeah, Chauncey was hitting out there. So Gators were cooking. That's my take from that. A couple of Gators got the Super Bowl rings. Chad Henne, former Jaguar, retired following the game. He got 2 rings now. Legend. End of an era. But overall, I mean, just feels like it was a hell of a game. I mean, a lot of people were mad at the end. They feel like the refs tainted one of the best Super Bowls ever. I don't feel like they did. It was a hold, and James Bradbury admitted to it. So I think it's fine. Like, I get a lot of people who don't watch football were like, why'd they run out the clock and just kick a field goal? That's boring. It's a boring way to end it. from a football fan perspective, that's just football. But I get it if you're not a football fan and you're just like, why didn't they try and score a touchdown? Like there was one play where I believe it was McKinnon had an easy touchdown, but he sat down at the 1 or 2 yard line, and that made a lot of people mad. It was one of the best Super Bowls I've watched in recent memory. It was a hell of a game. Jalen Hurts, forgot to mention him. He had three rushing touchdowns. Two of them were sneaks because their offensive line is incredible. Another one was just a good one. He had 15 for 70 rushing yards. Passing, he was 27 of 38 for 304 and 1. So Jalen Hurts would have been the MVP if the Eagles had won it. Devontae Smith, 7 for 100. AJ Brown, 6 for 96 and 1. The Eagles played a hell of a game themselves, but the Chiefs came out on top, and it was a fun Super Bowl. So I don't think I could have asked for much more, besides maybe overtime. So.
Yeah, come on. Next year, Bradbury, you just got to do better. You robbed us of more football.
Yeah, I do respect Bradbury a lot though for just saying, yeah, I did it. I was hoping I'd get away with it because a lot of guys he could have very well, because a lot of people were on his side, could have argued, no, I didn't do anything. The refs screwed us or whatever. But no, he knew what he did. He admitted to it, and it's the end of the story. I think a lot of people really just wanted Philadelphia to win. I kind of feel like because people are getting sick and tired of the Chiefs winning, and believe the Chiefs are getting ref help. So anytime they saw an opportunity to scream that, they did.
Yeah.
Is what it is. Jags are coming for it next year, though. So
that's right, man. Bradbury only said that because that's what his line was in the script.
He got that script, and he was during halftime reading the script, and he was like, "Damn, they're doing this to me. Damn it." Yeah. Last week, 2 weeks ago, it was Joseph Osai, and now it's me. Damn it. I love all the script memes. It's like some people genuinely believe that it's scripted, and it's crazy to me because I don't know how you can script some of these things. It's like you can't script a 60-yard bomb where a guy gets lit up into the next moon. Like it just happens. Like sure, maybe people could say it's fixed to where they'll call the refs will do certain things to make a certain outcome, but I don't think you could script it like some people think you can. It's an argument for another day.
It's the deep state, man. There's a lot more going on than meets the eye.
Oh my Lord. One thing I will say, I got screwed in my bet. I had the over on Kenneth Gainwell rushing yards, 21.5. He had 21.
You got Jared Goff.
Yeah, it was unfortunate. I didn't win money. I was hoping to win money, but it happens. One of my bets was Quez Watkins under 16.5 receiving yards. I got that right. He only had 8, but he had that deep ball that he dropped. It was in his hand and he dropped it. My heart almost broke watching that happen, but I was still good. But yeah, guys, that's the Super Bowl. That's our opinions on the Super Bowl and the NFL honors. Other NFL-wide stuff is the Colts hired Eagles offensive coordinator, or they're expected to at least, Shane Steichen. It's better than Jeff Saturday. I don't think it's a terrible hire. I don't know if it's an amazing hire either, though. It's kind of funny, though, if you think about it. The Colts offensive coordinator was Nick Sirianni. Then he got hired to the Eagles. And a couple years later, Nick Sirianni's the head coach of the Eagles. So the Colts hire the offensive coordinator of Nick Sirianni.
Yeah. Hey, should have been Jeff. Jeff Saturday was the only man for the job.
Man, I wish they hired Jeff Saturday. So damn bad.
Come on. The Jeff Saturday Will Levis combination next year would have been crazy.
They'd have to rename their stadium they'd have to get sponsored by Levi's. The 49ers stadium is Levi's stadium. So I was joking. I was like, imagine if the 49ers drafted Will Levis to add to their mid quarterback room. Just had Levis and Levi's. Feels like anytime I type Levis's name, it gets auto corrected to Levi's.
Yeah, every time.
So annoying. But yeah, let's move on to some Jaguars. We already talked about Doug Peterson. He got robbed. The Jaguars are hiring a new receivers coach because Chris Jackson, I believe his name was going to the Texas Longhorns. So we had to get a new coach. And I think we arguably upgraded because we hired Chad Hall, who was formerly the Bills wide receiver coach. So he's our wide receiver coach now. Stephon Diggs was quoted saying he's the best coach he's ever had. There's that. He's developed. Some people say what receivers were good for them. Gabe Davis was still developed. Like he had a letdown year compared to expectations, just because his expectations were so high because of that 4-touchdown playoff game. He still was a good player, and he was a 4th-round pick. So expecting him to suddenly become a wide receiver 1 is lofty expectations. So he developed him. He developed Khalil Shakur as a rookie who didn't play much, but he was good when he played. Even Isaiah McKenzie looked half decent sometimes. I think it's a good hire. Anybody who's been coached by him says he's an amazing coach. So I'm excited for that. How you feeling about Chad Hall?
I think it's a great hire. I mean, certainly did not expect that. Yeah, look forward to what he can do with what we've got, whether we just keep moving on with what we have or we pick up a rookie in the draft.
Going from Sanjay Lal a couple years ago to Chad Hall now, and what we have as a wide receiver room, Calvin Ridley. He's next podcast episode. Ridley will hopefully be reinstated, so he can file for reinstatement sometime this week, like tomorrow maybe. I think it might be Wednesday when he can file for reinstatement. So he might be reinstated by the next podcast. Who knows? Hashtag free Calvin Ridley. So there's Ridley. There's Christian Kirk, who Kadarius Toney put in his top 5. Kadarius Toney had Christian Kirk in his top 5 receivers. Tyreek Hill has Christian Kirk in his top 5 receivers. Like, game respect game, man. So our receiving core, I'm excited for it next year. It's gonna be so good.
Just wait till we trade Tim Jones for D-Hop.
Or we bring in Stephon Diggs, because I swear, ever since the Pro Bowl, every Jags fan has been saying Stephon Diggs is a Jaguar.
Yeah.
it's like I sent to one of my friends, somebody reported, or somebody said that players were telling Trevor Lawrence to save them a spot on the Jaguars. And somebody said, yeah, that's 100% Stephon Diggs. And I'm like, Stephon Diggs would have to take a crazy pay cut to come play for Jacksonville.
I mean, that's not even the craziest one I saw after the Pro Bowl. There was some people that thought we're going to make a move to somehow get Derrick Henry.
Or bring back Jalen Ramsey. It's.
I mean, what are your thoughts on Ramsey? Like, I wouldn't totally hate it if it wasn't something that financially set the team back, or draft capital wise set us back. Like, I'm not trading a first for Jalen.
Yeah, if the value's there and the contract can be sorted out in some sort of way, then sure. I hate how Jalen left, and still slightly hold a grudge against him, but he's a fantastic player, so I want fantastic players on the team. So I'm not going to say no to somebody just because they pissed me off a couple years ago.
Yeah, except Yannick. Yannick can stay away. Go fuck yourself.
He's not even that good. He's the definition of mid. He can't run defend. He's a pass rusher only. He's been thrown around more. I'm gonna give a nice quote rather than the other thing I was about to say. He's passed around like a blunt by NFL teams. So
yeah, he just needs to just go on somewhere else. Maybe stay in Indy. Maybe go to Cleveland.
I hope he stays in Indy so we get to destroy him every single year.
Yeah.
He screwed himself so bad. He got offered $19 million and has not gotten an offer close to that since. Like I said, he's been passed around by the league like a blunt. So he's cooked.
Better calm down. He's going to be in the comments section yelling at us later.
Yannick, if you're listening to this, thanks for the view, buddy. I hope you're subscribed. But yeah, so The receiving core is great. If we add to it, that'd be even greater. Like I'd draft a receiver, like the Bills did. Drafted Gabe Davis in the 4th round. I'd draft somebody in the mid rounds, maybe late rounds, whatever. Or if you can get a D Hop or Stephon Diggs for decent, do it. Why not? Fuck it, we ball is what I like to say. But
All we have to
yeah,
do to get D Hop is it's 2 steps: sign David Johnson, trade David Johnson,
big
like
brain,
trade what they traded in for him.
massive cranium move. So the Jaguars did sign someone today, though. Today we're recording this Monday. So whenever you're watching this, track back to Monday. But the Jaguars have signed running back Quadri. I'm going to assume Quadri because that sounds more normal. Quadri Ollison. I saw he in his Twitter profile, he had a Dallas Cowboys uniform. He played for the Falcons before. He was drafted by the Falcons. He played college at Pittsburgh. He was drafted in the 5th round of the 2019 NFL draft. He's 26. He's 6'1", 231. Let's look at his career stats. I have not looked at them yet. He got signed today. Let's look. See all. He played in 2019. In 2019, he had 22 carries for 50 yards, which is a 2.3 average and 4 touchdowns and 1 fumble. So it seems like he was a goal line merchant. Then he didn't really play in 2020. In 2021, he had 21 for 105 and 1 and another fumble. So it seems every year he's played and gotten like somewhat carries. Like 20 carries during a whole year is barely a carry a game, but he's had at least 1 fumble in all of those. So, and he did not play at all. He didn't even have a single carry during 2022 at Dallas. So he's probably just a camp body. Doubt he'll make the roster, but good for Quadre, I guess, getting on the future Super Bowl team. Now, let's go ahead and do our Jaguars season awards. So I got this idea from Jaguars Report and John Shipley. They did it first. Some of these awards are taken from theirs, but there are also some are edited and we didn't do all of them. But that's where I got the idea to do the Jaguars season awards from. If you guys want to watch their podcast, follow them on Twitter, do all that. That's who I got this from. Let's go ahead and do it though. MVP. Who was the Jaguars MVP this season? Coaches are an option. So you could say Doug Peterson if you want. I'm going to say Trevor Lawrence, even though you could really say Doug Peterson. I'm going to go Trevor Lawrence because when our season turned around, it was because of Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence won us that Ravens game. He won us that Cowboys game because we were in overtime with a very high scoring game. He didn't like win it, but all of our wins were because of Trevor Lawrence playing well. And when we lost, it was because Trevor Lawrence didn't play that well. So the team lived and died with Trevor Lawrence. That's why I think he's the MVP.
Yeah, I can agree with that. It's either that or it's like a shared MVP between Doug and Trevor.
For sure. Yeah, you could really give it to Doug too, because Doug made Trevor into what he is versus last year. And Doug did a lot this year. He made some ballsy decisions and they tended to work out. So all right. Next up is Offensive Player of the Year. I'm gonna do what the NFL does. Realistically, if your offensive player is MVP, they should be Offensive Player of the Year. I'm gonna be different. I'm gonna give it to Christian Kirk. And I'll explain why after you say who you picked. Or who you pick.
Oh. For that one, I'm probably going to go with Evan Ingram.
That's a good one. Yeah, but for me, it was between Kirk or Etienne. I gave it to Kirk because I think Kirk was so instrumental. He made so many key plays and did so many key things that helped us win games. While Etienne did that a lot too. Etienne had a lot of moments that lost us games as well. He had a handful of fumbles. He needs to work on the fumbling. He still had a great year and he still made a ton of plays for us, but Christian Kirk was instrumental in Trevor taking his leap as well. So that's why it's Christian Kirk for me. Evan Ingram's a good pick, so I want to hear why you pick Evan Ingram.
I mean, down the stretch, I mean, it seemed like every game We needed somebody to show up, and he was literally showing up game after game. And who doesn't love Evan Ingram? He's a great story. Got booed out of New York, and
now they want him back.
yeah.
Literally,
Too bad
Evan
they
Ingram,
can't have him.
Evan Ingram tweeted that he loves New York, probably because he was in New York. Like, he might not even have been talking about the team for all we know. And Giants fans were all in the comments saying, "Come back, you can come back, come on." Even though during preseason and training camp, anytime he dropped a pass, they came swarming.
Yep.
I hope we bring
They
him
love
back.
to see his downfall.
We should bring him back. Hopefully, we bring him back. If we don't, it's not the end of the world because Doug is good with tight ends. But I'd really like him to be brought back. So good pick. Good pick. All right, defensive player of the year. This one's interesting. I'm gonna go Tyson Campbell.
Yeah, that's probably my pick.
My number 2 was Foye Oluokun because he led the league in tackles and he was literally the only thing keeping our linebackers alive at certain points in the season. But Tyson Campbell, dude was absolutely locked down on the outside. He played like a top 5 cornerback in the league. And when you have somebody playing like a top 5 player at their position, I think it's just pretty easy. You got to give them defensive player of the year. But like I said, Foye, he's number 2 for me. He had an amazing year as well. But yeah, it was between those two. After that, none of the pass rushers, because I love Josh Allen, but Josh Allen was not a defensive player of the year this year. He wasn't consistent through the whole year.
I think after
Some
that,
people,
I'd have to look at Shawn.
I was gonna say it might be Rayshawn. Rayshawn's for me though. Rayshawn was a splash player. He was not very consistent. He was second in the league in missed tackles, and he gave up a ton of yardage as well. But he made some great fucking plays. He had that forced fumble against Tennessee that won us that game. He had the 2 interceptions against Dallas that won us that game, including the pick 6. So he was a splash player guy who he was awesome. I just like to see him get a little bit more consistent, and then he'd be a defensive player of the year for me. But his splash plays winning us those games would definitely put him probably in 3rd. All right. Most improved player. I'll let you go first.
I mean, I feel like you kind of got to give that one to Trevor as well. Because, I mean, you look at last year versus this year, and it's night and day difference.
Yeah, that's a good. It's if I don't want to give it to Trevor, Trevor's probably the right answer. But if I don't want to give it to Trevor, I'm thinking about giving it to Evan Ingram. Evan Ingram or Rayshawn. I think I'm going to give it to Evan Ingram because he dropped the ball. You could count on one hand how many times he dropped the ball this year. And he came up and won us so many games. So I'm going to give it to Evan Ingram. You're going to give it to Trevor. Either or, they're both good picks. But Evan Ingram, he went from being booed out of New York, like you said, having them swarming the comments every time he made a drop in training camp, to being wanted back. And it's kind of funny though, because when you see a guy with his work ethic, that you think they got to be successful. He's always there before practice, after practice, getting work in when nobody else is getting work in. It had to work out for him at some point. Rayshawn was a runner up there for me as well. I believe I mentioned. Most important addition. So, who is the most important addition? I am going to go with Douglas Peterson. I think it's an easy player. I'll give you a player answer too. I think Doug is obviously the most important addition because he turned the whole team around. But player wise, I'm going to go with Christian Kirk again because I think he made so many crucial catches. Same reason I gave him offensive player of the year is why I'm going to give him most important addition for players. But Doug, it's not even close. It's Doug.
For that one, I'm going to give that one to Foye.
That's a good one. Yeah, I thought about him as well. Just hell of a year. Led the league in tackles. People were on his head at times in the year, and I'm like, he's having to make up for these rookie mistakes around him. You got Chad Muma, he was having to make up for. He was having to make up for Devin Lloyd. He was the only guy consistent out there, in my opinion, at linebacker. Rookie of the year. I'll let you go first.
Oh, that's I don't know. I just feel like none of the rookies really like performed amazing. If I had to choose one, I'd probably have to go with Lloyd, Devin Lloyd.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go a little bit different here. I think I'm going to go with Luke Fortner. He had
I
his
forgot all
moments.
about Luke.
He had his moments, and he wasn't amazing, but he also was a rookie, and he still started every single game. So if he can get a little more, as some people would say, get a little bit more weight in the ass and not get bulldozed as much as he does, then that'd be great.
Yeah.
But comparing to rookies, because Trayvon, he started off really hot and then he ended really hot. I think he was in the wrong position was a big thing. When they moved him to putting his hand in the dirt, he played really well. He was just hurt a lot at the end of the year. But Trayvon didn't really do much to earn Rookie of the Year yet. He wasn't expected to either. Devin Lloyd looked amazing to start and then really looked mid as hell most of the year. I still have faith in him. Rookie linebackers are always struggles. Chad Muma was in the same range as Devin Lloyd for me. So I think just by process of elimination, I'm going to give it to Luke Fortner. Comeback player of the year. Okay. So I'm going to give this, I think, based off comeback standards, I'm just going to give it to ETN. Because, I mean, who got hurt last year? Or who came back from something? I mean, you could say Andrew Wingard
Shawn.
for Andrew Wingard came back from the Wingard hate train.
Yeah.
But I'm
I
going to
mean,
definitely
Shawn
give
ended the year last year injured.
True. Who else? I mean, Darius Williams was really good. He has not been mentioned for anything, but he was really good when he got moved. Andre Cisco didn't play last year, but he was good. Did Jamal Agnew get hurt last year?
Yeah, I think so, but I don't remember if he ended the year injured or not.
Yeah, I'm not
I
sure.
feel like he did.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and make the smart move and give it to ETN though, because ETN basically had his rookie year this year, and he had 1,000, like he had like 1,100 yards. So
That's my
six
only
man
issue with it. Is it really a comeback though? If
because he
you
didn't have
technically weren't ever here,
he
you
played a
know.
couple snaps in preseason if you're gonna count that. It's hard because
No, who counts preseason?
it's hard because there really wasn't too many guys that had many major injuries to come back from because we already did a most improved player. So comeback wise, like you said, maybe Shawn. Could have said James Robinson if he didn't get traded.
We miss you every day, James.
Yeah. Thanks for the draft pick though, brother. Thanks for that.
Yeah, it's much appreciated.
All right, sixth man of the year, which is a player who played under 50% of the snaps. So Arden Key is probably going to be my pick here. He when he did play on the edge or interior, bro was cooking. So his pressure rate one game was insane. He had like a 50% pressure rate. Jamal Agnew is another guy you could give it to because he kept us in so many games on kick returns, and he was a good gadget player too. Like you guys saw the touchdown earlier against the Eagles. It's just that playoff fumble. Damn. I'm gonna give it to Arden Key just because of that. But Jamal Agnew, if you're factoring in kick returns and stuff and not just pure offense, okay, I'll say this. If you're factoring in kicks and special teams and offense, Jamal Agnew gets the award. If you're doing just offense / defense playing under 50% of the snaps, then I'm going to give it to Arden Key.
I'm gonna go with my boy Dewey.
Hey, let's go, Dewey. It's just so funny, man, how everybody went from wanting him off the roster so bad to loving him. And I'm like, he was never cut worthy. He was always a good depth player.
Well, I mean, last year we all had it, had to have somebody to hate, and it was Urban Meyer up until Urban Meyer was gone. And it's like, well, now who do we hate? Hey, we hate Wingard.
And it's funny because Wingard was the one guy who would openly talk about Urban Meyer like after the fact. Like when he was talking about what Trevor had to deal with. He was like, oh, yeah, he had to deal with Urban Meyer. It's like everybody
Yeah,
loves Dewey now. And Dewey created
it's
the It Was
impossible
Always the
not to.
Jags. I literally have the shirt in my
Exactly.
closet. It was always the Jags. Awesome. All right, last one. Highlight of the year. It could be a play, it could be a game, a situation. What's your highlight of the year? Just to roll some ideas off the top of my head. The Ravens game ending, going for two, that drive and then going for two. You could I think I know what my answer is. So I'm going to save it for last. But another one you could say would be the Titans game. Shawn fumble. Josh Allen runs it in the end zone. Anything like that. I'm going to let you answer first in case you say what I'm thinking, because I want to see if you think of something else first. But it's your highlight of the year.
I mean, the obvious ones up first. You'd be, Rayshawn's pick six against Dallas.
Dallas, yeah, the
Ray,
Shawn pick six against Dallas.
then the fumble, then that Josh Allen return to beat Tennessee. That's another good one. I don't know. Can you consider an entire half of football a highlight? Because if so, then obviously the wild card game wins it.
That's what I was waiting for. I was going to say the wild card game against Los Angeles, the 27-point comeback, and then that play. If you want to give it to a specific play, you could say that ETN play at the end of the Chargers game. So damn good. But so many highlights to pick from. But I'm definitely going to give it the Chargers game. I think that's pretty obvious. 27-point comeback. Happened in front of my eyes. Somewhat happened in front of his eyes, but this guy left, and this guy was trying to convince others to leave.
Hey, I'm not the only one that left. All right. Shawn also accompanied me out of the stadium. So
I remember you in the group chat saying, all right, time to try and convince Jake and Shawn to leave. And I was like,
dude,
suck my fucking dick. I'm not leaving. I paid too much for this shit.
I literally caught pneumonia from that game. I was sick for weeks, dude.
And then
And
Shawn got sick too. Shawn had I forget what the name for it is, but he had no voice basically for weeks, and it still hasn't really come back.
I think he had laryngitis.
Yes, that's the word, laryngitis. So you guys went through it, and I'm just like, hey man, I ate a cold piece of fried chicken. Oh yeah,
Look,
I remember. This is the guy who gave me
I
the
planned
cold piece of
terribly
fried
for it.
chicken.
That's right. My brother is Chicken Man, Chicken Boy, actually. No, I planned terribly for that game. Like, I knew it was going to be cold, and I still dressed like a Floridian and froze because of it.
Yeah, that it was a fun game for me. I made sure to dress so that I was warm. Like my hands were cold, but I had hand warmers that I kept going back to. Like my face and the hands were the only things that I could really complain about. But it was fun. So that's definitely a highlight of the year. And yeah, that's our awards for the Jaguars 2021 season. Hopefully next year we're not even thinking about these questions yet. Hopefully we're saving these questions for like 3 weeks down the road. But
Congratulations to all of our winners.
Yes, we hope you all ball out next year as well. All right, last thing, draft. We'll cut this a little bit short just because the draft enthusiast Shawn is not here. Shawn and I cook on those draft takes, but we'll talk about it a little bit. NFL draft QBs. I already mentioned last week that my favorite quarterback in the draft, it's biased, but it's also, I think he's fun to watch. Anthony Richardson. He's incredibly explosive. If teams, I hope he goes to a situation where he doesn't need to start year one, but I think he can if they scheme around him smartly. Don't be like the Chicago Bears and make him do things he doesn't need to be doing immediately. Then you got Bryce Young. He's very good, of course. QB1 for me. You got CJ Stroud. Some people have AR over CJ Stroud. I have CJ Stroud over AR right now just because I think AR could easily be miles better, but safe wise, CJ Stroud is way safer. The floor. This is AR's floor. This is CJ Stroud's floor. Their floors are so high, but opposite side of the spectrum. CJ Stroud has a high ceiling still, but AR's ceiling is significantly ahead of him. I like to have some floor, so that's why I'm giving CJ Stroud the floor because his accuracy is crazy good. He just needs to play like he did against Georgia every week because he was known for not extending plays. He was known for getting messed up when he was under pressure. A one game sample size isn't going to make me suddenly make him QB1 or anything like some people did, but it gives me hope that he can be better. After that, who gives a shit about the rest of the quarterbacks? They're all mid.
Now, do not disrespect the two-time national champion, the mailman himself, the DUI getter, Stetson motherfucking Bennett.
Undrafted. Undrafted. He gets no draft grade from me. None. He actually does have a draft grade. Like I'll pull up my I'll actually give some in-depth grades here. I'll go through my entire QB order, but those are the main ones that deserve talking. I do have to change somebody in my order. I haven't done it yet and upgrade his grade, so I'll let you guys know. But QB1 is Bryce Young with a 6.89. If you guys want to know what these numbers mean, go to the NFL draft and search NFL draft grade scale. I use their scale, so whatever these numbers lie in, that's what I think they'll be. You guys can do that search on your own. Bryce Young, 6.89 QB1. CJ Stroud, QB2, 6.59. Anthony Richardson, QB3, 6.5. I will tell you this, a 6.5 to 6.59 equals boomer bust prospect. I think CJ Stroud and Anthony Richardson are boomer bust prospects for the opposite reasons. I think CJ Stroud could bust because he doesn't move on pressure or whatever, but he could also boom because he has great accuracy and a high floor. Anthony Richardson could bust because Anthony Richardson could easily bust. Anybody who thinks otherwise is crazy. But he could boom because obvious reasons. Cam Ward, I don't even know if Cam Ward is in this draft anymore. I haven't heard much on him, so he might not even be in this draft, so I'm not even going to mention him. Then Will Levis, 6.18. I'm not very high on him. Then you got Jake Haener. I got to upgrade his grade. So his grade currently is a 6.06, but I'm going to move it up a little bit because I think he's a good, potentially good player, backup guy who maybe could start eventually. Tanner McKee is up there as well with a 6.15. PFF hypes him up. I think he's all right. I don't think he's terrible. I think he's a Davis Mills type guy. Aiden O'Connell is these are no longer even in order anymore. These are just their grades. Aiden O'Connell, 6.03. We talked about him last week. He's a guy who's going to be a backup in the league for a long time. But that's about it. Hendon Hooker, I'm very low on Hendon Hooker, 6.09. He's going to be 26 before he ever plays in an NFL game. He has terrible pocket presence, and he's coming off an ACL. And he was playing in a system that was very quarterback friendly. So I'm not very high on Hendon Hooker. He also went in my DMs. I tweeted a bad play of him. I tweeted a video of him throwing an interception, forcing it into triple coverage, rather than hitting the open guy right in front of him on a rollout. And he replied to me explaining why I was wrong. He said, first off, it's fourth down. That's why you don't throw it away. And I was like, okay, fair enough there. I didn't realize it was fourth down. But then he said his arm would get hit, so he couldn't throw it to the guy in front of him. And I'm like, thinking to myself, how does that make sense? If you could throw it deeper without your arm being hit, then how could you not throw it shorter to the guy who's open with your arm being hit? And also, If your arm does get hit, what's the difference? You threw a pick that almost was 6. Then, yeah. So that was kind of funny. He was searching his name because I didn't even tag him. Jaron Hall, I'm going to lower a bit, but currently he's a 6.17. I think he's solid. Clayton Tune is a 6.01. He's pretty bad, but maybe a backup, a late round pick, undrafted. Stetson Bennett, 5.67, undrafted. Dorian Thompson Robinson, 5.64, undrafted. Max Duggan, 5.69, undrafted. That's really all the quarterbacks. I think after the top 3, it's a heavy drop off. I'm not a Will Levis guy. I'm not a Hendon Hooker guy. That's my quarterbacks. Do you really have any draft takes on any of the quarterbacks?
Will Levis is overrated as fuck, in my opinion. I haven't. He's got the physical gifts, but I don't think that anything like. And Mel Kiper's going to hype him up to be the next Josh Allen. I can already hear it.
If anybody's going to be the Josh Allen, it's going to be Anthony Richardson.
Yeah,
it's like
Mel Kiper.
I don't know how
he's so out of touch, dude.
Will Levis for me. Will Levis is 24, I believe. He'll be 25 probably when the season starts, give or take. I don't know his exact birthday. So he's older. He's been in college for a long time. His decision-making is poor. He throws a lot of interceptions. He threw as many interceptions as Emory Jones did. So he turns the ball over a lot. His pocket presence is not very good. That's the difference between him and Anthony Richardson. Anthony Richardson is better in every possible way, except maybe his accuracy is a little bit worse than Will Levis is, but he's also 3 years younger than Will Levis. But anyways, I won't go to that debate. But Will Levis, his accuracy is iffy. It's not terrible, but it's not great or good. It's not like CJ Stroud or Bryce Young. Then he has his throwing motion. I don't like it. I think his throwing motion is short, so it gives him crazy velocity on short throws, but when it gets to deep ball, it's not that accurate. What else? I mean, he puts mayo in his coffee if we're not talking about football things. So I'm just not a Will Levis guy.
That was a joke, wasn't it?
I don't know.
That was a joke.
I don't know. I hope it was a joke.
I remember seeing the video, but I don't remember ever finding out if that was legit, like he does that, or if it is legit, then he can't go anywhere else but Tennessee. That's the only option.
I was just thinking that. I hope he goes to Tennessee, man. But nonetheless, that's the whole argument there. But hope you guys enjoyed this episode of the podcast. It was fun. Johnny filling in. Thank you for coming on, man. We appreciate it. And Shawn will be back next week. So hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment, share, do all that stuff. Follow Johnny on Twitter. What's your at?
At Johnny Boy Jags.
Okay. So follow him there because Shawn's at is above your head. But do all that. We'll see you guys next week. Peace.